Hello, Los Angeles Dodgers fans. We've got fresh, exclusive videos and the latest updates just for you. Before we dive in, make sure to join our channel and hit that like button. This is the best way to stay on top of all the breaking news. Clayton Kershaw, one of the most respected and decorated pitchers of modern baseball, has set the entire sports world on fire with a revelation that no one truly saw coming. After weeks of speculation regarding his future, after endless debates among fans and insiders about whether he would continue with the Dodgers or pursue a new chapter elsewhere, the veteran finally announced his decision to leave the organization that had defined his career. But what really shook the foundations of Major League Baseball was not just the departure itself, but the shocking allegations Kershaw shared immediately after. According to the Ace, the front office of the Dodgers had become increasingly toxic, a place where players felt suffocated instead of supported, and where the legendary culture of family and loyalty had eroded into cold calculations and harsh, joyless decisions. Kershaw's words landed like a thunderclap across the league, leaving many stunned and others quietly nodding, suggesting perhaps this wasn't as surprising as it first seemed. The news spread like wildfire, igniting talk shows, podcasts, and social media feeds. Fans who had worshipped Kershaw for more than a decade were now confronted with an entirely different image of the club they loved. As the fallout unfolded, whispers began to rise that this wasn't a sudden outburst or an emotional exaggeration from a departing star. Sources close to the pitcher suggested he had been carrying this weight for years, hiding frustration behind his professional composure and quiet demeanor. Reports indicated that the Dodgers front office, once lauded for its innovative approach and analytical brilliance, had developed a reputation internally for coldness and a lack of genuine connection with players. Kershaw apparently felt that promises were made and broken, that trust had been replaced with manipulation, and that the locker room atmosphere had grown colder each season. Several unnamed former teammates have reportedly backed his claims, admitting off the record that the pressure and the lack of authentic leadership had taken a toll on morale. This narrative now frames Kershaw not just as a pitcher closing a chapter, but as a whistleblower pulling back the curtain on a dynasty that may not be as perfect as it appears from the outside. The conversation is no longer just about baseball statistics and championship banners, but about culture, respect, and what truly makes a team. The reaction from Dodgers fans has been complex, torn between heartbreak, anger, and confusion. For many, Clayton Kershaw was more than just a player. He was the face of the franchise, the heart and soul who delivered magical performances night after night, and who brought Los Angeles its long-awaited championship in 2020. To hear him describe the inner workings of the club as toxic feels like betrayal, not by Kershaw, but by the very organization fans believed represented excellence and tradition. Online forums have exploded with debates, with some insisting that Kershaw is exaggerating, perhaps influenced by age, injuries, or bitterness about his diminished role. Others, however, believe every word, pointing to the fact that players rarely speak this candidly unless they've reached a breaking point. Some fans even claim that the signs were visible: the tense body language in the dugout, the distant looks in press conferences, and the unusual silence when asked about his relationship with management. In the span of a single announcement, the image of a harmonious, united Dodgers empire has been cracked wide open, and the emotional wound for supporters is unlikely to heal anytime soon. Inside the league, rival executives and players are paying very close attention to the fallout. Kershaw's decision to publicly criticize the Dodgers front office could mark a turning point in how veteran stars approach their relationships with organizations. If a figure as respected and cautious as Kershaw felt compelled to go public, what does that say about the environment behind closed doors? Could other players follow his lead, revealing more about a side of baseball that fans rarely get to see? League insiders speculate that these revelations could affect free agency negotiations, as players may hesitate to join the Dodgers if they fear a toxic environment. It also raises questions about whether the team's success on the field has come at the cost of its soul, and whether analytics and cold efficiency have replaced the humanity that players crave. Other teams, watching this drama unfold, might see an opportunity to lure not just Kershaw, but other disillusioned Dodgers with promises of warmth, respect, and true leadership. The balance of power in baseball could subtly shift, not through trades or signings, but through the cultural fallout of one man speaking out. The Dodgers organization, meanwhile, has found itself in an incredibly awkward position. Publicly, they have not yet issued a detailed response to Kershaw's allegations, choosing instead to release a short statement thanking him for his years of service and wishing him the best. But behind the scenes, insiders suggest the front office is scrambling to manage the narrative. Executives are reportedly furious that Kershaw went public with such damaging claims, believing it tarnishes the team's brand and undermines their standing with current players. Some speculate that a damage control campaign is already being planned, including carefully crafted interviews and statements aimed at downplaying the pitcher's comments. Yet the reality is that once a story like this escapes, it takes on a life of its own. Every denial will be scrutinized, every corporate phrase will be dissected, and the absence of genuine transparency could only fuel the belief that Kershaw was right. The Dodgers, once seen as a gold standard for modern baseball operations, may now face one of their toughest battles, not on the field, but in the court of public perception. What makes this saga even more dramatic is the personal cost for Kershaw himself. For years, he avoided controversy, never seeking headlines beyond his performance on the mound. He was seen as humble, dedicated, and loyal to the team that drafted him and shaped his career. By speaking out now, he risks criticism, questions about his motives, and even the possibility of being blackballed from future opportunities within the organization. Yet those close to him insist this decision was not made lightly. They claim he reached a point where staying silent felt dishonest, both to himself and to the fans who had supported him with unwavering devotion. If anything, Kershaw's honesty has made him more relatable, painting a picture of a man who values integrity above comfort. The baseball world is left to wonder what happens next. Will the Dodgers attempt to repair the damage? Will Kershaw's words spark a movement? Or will this simply fade with time? Whatever the outcome, this bombshell has ensured that his legacy will never be seen in the same light again, forever tied to the truths he chose to reveal. As the dust continues to settle from Clayton Kershaw's bombshell comments, the narrative is only growing more complicated, with new layers of intrigue and speculation being added each day. Reports are surfacing that Kershaw's accusations of toxicity inside the Dodgers clubhouse might not just be isolated to his personal experiences, but could reflect a broader pattern that other players have quietly endured for years. Anonymous voices are beginning to emerge, hinting that the environment was far more rigid and cold than the outside world could ever imagine. While official statements remain scarce, whispers behind the scenes suggest that there were constant clashes between the analytical staff and the players, creating a culture of mistrust and silent resentment. The idea of the Dodgers being a machine-like organization, focused purely on data and results, is nothing new. But now, for the first time, that machine is being described not as efficient, but as suffocating, turning what should have been a joyful pursuit of championships into a draining, joyless grind. Kershaw's words might have simply opened the door, but it feels like many others are now ready to walk through it and tell their own versions of the story. Adding to the drama is the speculation about what truly pushed Kershaw to finally speak up after so many years of loyalty. Some insiders believe that recent contract negotiations played a major role, pointing to rumored disagreements about his role and value to the team moving forward. Others suggest that injuries, age, and a shifting clubhouse dynamic exposed him to harsher treatment than he had ever experienced before. The Dodgers, known for ruthless efficiency when it comes to roster construction, may have treated Kershaw more like a piece on a chessboard than the face of the franchise, a reality that must have been painful for a competitor who gave everything to the organization. Friends close to the pitcher say he felt deeply disrespected in final conversations, leaving him with a sense that his years of sacrifice were dismissed too casually. That perceived lack of gratitude, combined with the overall toxic atmosphere, seems to have been the tipping point. Fans, meanwhile, are left wondering how much of this could have been avoided if the organization had simply chosen empathy over calculation, humanity over cold numbers, and loyalty over spreadsheets. Around Major League Baseball, the reaction has been both cautious and curious. Rival players have begun to quietly voice their support for Kershaw, with a few even hinting that they had heard similar stories about the Dodgers' atmosphere, but were unwilling to speak out themselves. Executives on other teams see opportunity in the chaos, with some considering ways to leverage Kershaw's comments in free agency pitches to players who may now view Los Angeles with skepticism. Sports media, of course, has feasted on every detail, turning each new rumor into headline material and creating endless debate shows dedicated to dissecting whether the Dodgers dynasty is rotting from within. The bigger question is whether this will force a reckoning across the league. If even the most glamorous, successful organizations are capable of breeding such toxicity, then how many other clubs are hiding behind a facade of smiles and press releases? Kershaw's choice to speak could embolden others to do the same, and baseball could find itself at the start of a much larger conversation about power, respect, and the treatment of athletes in the modern era. But before we move forward, don't forget to join our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest news about the Los Angeles Dodgers. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the news, so drop a comment below. The Dodgers fan base, one of the most passionate in all of sports, finds itself at a crossroads of emotions, torn between anger at the front office and loyalty to the team they love. On one hand, Clayton Kershaw remains an icon, the player who delivered unforgettable memories, and his words carry undeniable weight. On the other, there is a deep reluctance to accept the possibility that the organization is guilty of fostering toxicity. Some fans argue that winning has a price, and perhaps the culture described by Kershaw is simply the reality of modern sports where results matter above everything else. Others counter that the Dodgers brand was built on more than victories. It was built on a sense of pride, community, and belonging. For them, Kershaw's revelation feels like an exposed wound, one that cannot be ignored or brushed aside. Social media feeds overflow with emotional posts, some demanding accountability from ownership, while others beg Kershaw to reconsider and forgive. The divide is sharp, but one thing is clear. The narrative of the Dodgers as a perfect, flawless organization has been forever shattered, and the trust between team and fans may never fully return. Meanwhile, the Dodgers' silence grows louder with each passing day. Their carefully curated image has always been one of professionalism and dignity, but now the lack of transparency risks turning into an admission of guilt in the eyes of many observers. Every day that passes without a detailed rebuttal or an honest acknowledgement of the situation only fuels the fire. Rumors suggest that the front office is divided on how to respond, with some pushing for a strong denial and others urging a softer, more human approach that could ease tensions. The longer they wait, the more the narrative belongs to Kershaw and the fans who believe him. This crisis management failure might end up doing more damage than the allegations themselves, proving that even the strongest empires can crumble when faced with the power of perception. For now, the Dodgers are stuck in limbo, unwilling to admit fault, but unable to convincingly deny it either. And every headline, every interview, every social media storm pushes them further into uncharted territory. Their silence is no longer neutral. It's a weapon that is cutting into their own reputation, leaving scars that could last for years. For Clayton Kershaw, however, the future is strangely brighter despite the storm he created. While his words may have burned bridges with the Dodgers, they also elevated his status as a truth-teller and a player who values integrity over comfort. Teams across the league now see him not only as a competitor, but as a leader, someone unafraid to challenge the system when it betrays its own values. Fans outside Los Angeles are rallying around him, treating him as a symbol of resistance against the corporate machinery of modern sports. In the twilight of his career, he has unexpectedly become more than just a pitcher. He has become a voice, a figure whose legacy is now tied not only to strikeouts and championships, but to courage and honesty. Whether he chooses to sign with another team, retire, or take on a new role within the sport, his words will continue to echo. The Dodgers, no matter what they achieve in the coming years, will never escape the shadow of his revelation. And for Kershaw, this chapter may prove to be just as defining as anything he ever accomplished on the mound. That's all for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay up to date with exclusive news about the Los Angeles Dodgers, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We always appreciate your comments and feedback. See you in the next video.